days. It was fucking shit show. I know, Mercury. Well, let's just blame it on Mercury. It's been the theme of the week. Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Pride and Equity Storytelling Event and Roundtable series. I am so honored to be here and to be moderating this event with the amazing Sonia and Mel of Sway Blunts, who we love, and I know you will all love too. Just to kick things off, I'm Meryl. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Barbari, and more importantly, I am a storytelling nut and enthusiast. I really have fallen in love with it over the last, I think my whole life, but I didn't know that it was a thing until much later. And once I learned that storytelling is actually a thing and there's a culture around it, I just dove right in. And so when we're thinking about pride and equity for this Tokeativity event, the idea of storytelling just seemed like such a natural fit. I mean, to understand pride and to really celebrate pride, whether that's pride within yourself or pride within the community, it really means to acknowledge what there is to be proud of and the work that has been done to be proud of. And to commit yourself to an equitable future means recognizing that there are daily inequalities that are still happening today. And storytelling is a space and it is a way to digest, to process, to translate, and really contextualize a lot of these larger concepts and these moments that we live in today in a really beautiful way. And I think, looking at where we are, we did not just arrive to this moment here today to celebrate Pride. We are here as a result of legacies and of generations of stories on top of stories on top of stories. And today we get to hear 3 of these stories about pride and equity and how they're impacting our lives today and how they're shaping what we're doing, our work today, and in shaping for that more pride and equitable future. So our storytellers today are Sonia and Mel and myself. I feel like I can introduce myself, and Lisa, thank you for putting our little bios here. And we'll let the Sway team, Mel and Sonia, introduce yourselves. I think to start though, what I want everyone in this little chat room and in this breakout panel to know is that our lovely Mel and Sway are in fact a married couple that are also co-founders, which is just applause to you even already. But I believe today is a very special day for you, is it not? What is today?
Today is our wedding anniversary.
What a better way. What a better way to celebrate pride and to celebrate love and to celebrate you guys than with a big happy anniversary, you guys.
Oh,
thank you.
I'm so excited. And I hope everyone in this group, please put it in the chats. Send them all our happy well wishes. This happy anniversary. You guys are amazing. We love you.
Thank you. I just want you to know that I'm fully engaged. I'm just rolling a little joint over here because I want to be ready for when you light up. So we can.
Yeah. Okay. So
why don't
Meryl, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna actually say. Well, okay, I can introduce myself, but I'm going. I think actually I'm gonna have you guys introduce yourselves first. So why don't you give us all your names, your pronouns, and because it is such a loving day, I think one thing that you are loving about yourself today and one thing you love about your wife today. Go.
okay, so I'm Mel. I'm the COO and founder of Soy CBD Blunts. I hand roll delicious, beautiful blunts. I am happy. Oh, my pronouns are she, they. I'm happy. Oh, I'm proud of myself because I'm being myself.
Mm.
Mm. Mm. And the one thing I like about Sonia is that she'll always call me to ask me where something is.
You're ride or die. You're that emergency call.
You know, and I say like,
even if the emergency is just that I can't remember where they keep the mayonnaise.
All right, Sonia, you're up.
All right, so I'm Sonia Faye Wright, and I'm the co-founder, CEO of Sway Blunts, and my pronouns are she, her. And one thing that I'm loving about myself today is how I'm stumped. How good I am at rolling joints.
Yeah. And one thing you love about Mel.
And one thing that I love about Mel is how great of a team player she can be sometimes, especially in these last couple of days. It's really
so important. So important in a marriage and a business partnership is to have that patience and that good teamwork. Well, my name is Meryl. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Barbari. We're a cannabis brand for low-dose products to give you a mild high any time of the day or night. And here's a little bit of a rundown of how this will work, everyone. So we're going to each tell a story. And I encourage everyone to be putting in the comments, putting in the chat, any questions or comments or snaps or praise, or if you hear something you like that really interests you or really speaks to you, that is the beauty of storytelling, is this very tangible way of connecting with others, and we all want to connect with you. So put those chats in there, and I will be emceeing and relaying all of those throughout in between each stories, and I also, of course, have some of my own. So I'm going to go ahead and get this party started, and we'll take it away. So I think, just to give you all a little start, I'm going to turn my notes. Okay. So I am, among many things, first, I am artificially inseminated. Fun fact about me, I am artificially inseminated. In fact, both my brother and me are artificially inseminated. My mother, being the industrious young lesbian of the 80s here in Portland, was actually one of the first single women to be artificially inseminated in the early 80s up at OHSU. And of course, she wasn't single. Her relationship just wasn't legally recognized, but she was, in fact, in a steady partnership, living her John Steinbeck dreams out in a farm raising rabbits. And so that was how we began. And what's interesting is that both my brother and I, my mother is white, and both my brother and I are Asian. She chose Asian sperm to be her sperm donor and to raise her children as Asian children. And when she was asked why she chose to have Asian children, her answer was always really simple. And that was because she thought they were the cutest. And that was it. There was no other reason other than my mom just wanted to have cute babies. And that is how I've come to really, that's my foundation, right, of my own Asianness, is feeling like I'm, in fact, just the result of my mom's fantasies to have a pretty baby, living in the realities of America as an Asian American woman. And it's been a really interesting space for me to navigate over the last few years. And in fact, it is what led to my own journey. I'm actually at the beginning of this journey. So this little short story does not have, I would say, a direct, clear ending. Sorry, it's maybe the worst story ever. But I will say it is a bit of a beginning of an awakening for me. I should say, with this, living like this, right? So what it means to be an Asian American in an Asian American woman today, raised in a culture that was given no cultural context, was not given any traditional appreciation for my Asian ancestry or this thing that connects me to this world, of being raised completely in a bubble and isolated from that. But yet, as an Asian American woman today, I'm faced with everyday microaggressions, from being confused, being thought that I was working at stores that I was actually shopping at, or maybe it's being served the wrong drink at a bar because I was confused with another Asian American woman at the end of the bar, to being really sexualized from a really young age by all older, creepy white men. Like, very common. But yet I wasn't given that playground or that fertilizer to have a real pride or appreciation for my Asian heritage. And so I was left feeling a lot of shame about my Asianness growing up, and feeling like I was a fake and that I couldn't actually, it was something that was actually a little bit dangerous for me. It was something that I wanted to be really separated from, because if I immersed myself into Asian culture, then that was the risk of maybe being exposed that I was raised in a white community, or it was the risk of those microaggressions intensifying, being confused with other people. So I spent most of my college and early 20s actually continuing to isolate myself from other Asians, and to continue to keep my distance, because that's what felt safe, and that's what felt like I had to do to protect myself. And so then I entered the cannabis industry, and I'm at one of my first cannabis events. And the first person that I speak to, very friendly, thinks that I'm actually a writer, a cannabis writer in the industry, who also happens to be Asian American. And when he found out that he was confused and that I wasn't that person, then instantly I became less valuable to him because I wasn't the writer that he thought I was. And that was it. That was that moment. The moment that I had been looking to avoid up until that point happened on one of my first days in what is an industry that I love. And it took the wind out of me a little bit, but then what happened is I actually met that writer, and we became really good friends, and she became one of my first Asian friends. And it sounds so silly to even say it out loud, but in speaking with her and in our conversations, we had so many shared experiences. Her being also a half white, half Asian woman, she actually had dealt with a lot of the same things that I had, and I no longer felt as alone as I previously had. And with that one friendship led me to a few more friendships, all in the Asian community and all within the cannabis community. And the cannabis world sort of opened up this other niche little subsect of stoner Asians. And I then found myself in a whole group of people that were so much like me. And it was beautiful. I was invited to an event that was it was specifically for Asian stoners to all come together and eat. And I looked around the table, and it was, I don't know, it was one of those moments where I knew there would never be going back to before that moment, where I knew that I had been withholding myself from a part of myself, a piece of myself that I was really dying to explore. And thanks to the cannabis industry, I've been able to explore this side of myself. I've been able to have really open and transparent and candid conversations with my parents about if they ever even thought about what it would mean to raise an Asian American child. No, the answer was no, but we were able to have good conversations around it. And that was it. And now here we are today. And I'm so thankful that I have made these friendships, because it's now went from feeling like this piece of me that I had to really hide from, this Asianness that I was hiding from as a way of protection, is now something that I'm feeling more and more proud of. And especially as being an Asian American business owner in the cannabis space, I am feeling exceptionally proud of this. And I think representation matters so much. And I feel more authentically proud of my Asianness because of the friendships that I've made because of this industry. I think that was part of my journey. I think if I had been raised in an Asian American household, I wouldn't have the raw appreciation for the culture that I'm learning now as an adult. So thank you so much. I will wrap it up. Kikoko, I saw your, I've seen you speak at other events, to other tokeativity events, and thank you so much for commenting here. She's saying here that you've been there, the Stoner Asians from the 70s. I feel like I would love to be Stoner Asian of the 70s with you, Kikoko. I would love to be a part of that.
Wow, that I love learning something new about you all the time. It's like it's really nice. And I love you.
Getting to know one another.
All right, so I'm gonna start with my story next. So I'm just gonna start. Is that
go for it.
All right, here we go. Perfect. Okay, cool. Here we go. I remember the time when I was in my car breaking down weed to roll a blunt on a piece of mail. When I was gathering the bud to slip it into the wrap, a loud siren lights up right next to me and then passes me. My body reacted before my emotions did, and I didn't even notice my body jerk from the sound. But I waited until I didn't see the police lights. And when I looked down to finish my blunt, it was all over me and all over my car. It took me a minute to get back into my body. You know, I started to clean up my mess. I was taking care of myself, but that siren really flared up my trauma and my anxiety. But out of that whole little moment that I had, I was still able to save enough weed to roll a little blunt. Dope. But I walk with trauma everywhere I go. It's difficult, it's exhausting, it's frustrating, but I'm not alone. I have my partner, I have my family and my friends. They're always there to help me through all of it. But I use cannabis to treat my trauma and to cope with things. It's just like a daily ritual thing that I do for myself to I feel like I'm able to have balance. I'm able to code switch with ease, which is like tiring in itself, but that's the whole thing. But since then, I've started my business with my partner in the cannabis industry. When I did that, I didn't have a clue. I had no clue how to start a business, let alone run one. But I did it anyways. Like Meryl, I went to all the industry nights. I went to all of these events. I met up friends and finding all these women in cannabis, and in that kind of like sea of like the industry up here in Portland, there was no diversity, but I've learned a lesson, and I don't go to I don't go to industry events stoned anymore because I don't remember anyone's name by the time it's fucking over. It's just not good. It's not good. But it was good. It was good to find people. I had to find people that looked like me at those industry events. It wasn't, it was really hard to find other POC and other Black people in cannabis up here like a couple years ago. But there was one time I will never forget when I was at one of those events. I was introducing myself to someone, and I was telling them about my product. I think this person was a farmer. And I was telling them I hand roll blunts. I'm the shit. I do them, like this. And I was showing them. And then a person came from behind me and interrupted me. And they kind of joined in on the conversation. And as I was like sharing more in depth about like my product and my love for it, that same person that interrupted me kind of looked at me and said, "Yeah, a Black woman should be rolling blunts." I was like, okay, well, that really ended the conversation real fucking quick. So like when that happened, I kind of heard sirens again. I was kind of going through that trauma form of like, okay, I'm leaving my body. I was stunned, but also like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm also being tokenized in front of some people, and I couldn't say anything. But I didn't talk to anyone for the rest of that evening. I was just kind of like in my own world. But when I was in my own world that night, I decided to, not be tokenized anymore. And instead of working for someone and being under someone as a partnership, I decided to start rolling for myself and start my own business. I created Sway CBD with my partner. We locally source hemp from Portland, but most importantly, we roll with love and care. And we got here because Portland passed these laws and they gave grants to certain nonprofits to help with the equity structure in this state when it comes to Black people and cannabis. So we got a lot of grants, and through those grants, we're able to be here today. And at this point, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. You can't stop me. You can't move me unless I'm sleeping. But like, I want to be a leader now. Like, I see the light and I want to be a leader. I want to be a leader within my cohort. I want to keep fighting for more equity, more money that's coming from the state. I want to be fighting for equal justice, equal equality, equal justice, racial justice, and I want to, help end police brutality too, because it's also involved in cannabis as well. But nothing's gonna stop me from changing the world or smoking weed.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
That's my story.
Thank you. Beautiful. Woo! I think, first of all, Mel, you are already a leader. It's not I want to be future tense as if I'm not there. Like, you're there.
Meryl,
you were standing. I mean, like, listening to your story, right? Like, having it start out in this moment of breathless fear, of that siren triggering a moment of fuck, like, oh fuck, is this that moment, or what? Of fear, and then bringing that into a space of a functional event. Like, what? I guess, like, whenever people have said, like, the moment when that man said that to you, I'm sorry, I'm assuming it's a man. He did not specify, but I'm going to assume this.
It was a white guy.
Yeah. I think from that moment, we've all, I'm sure, seen it in some level or felt it in some level. But I think for you, having that be another sort of siren, another sort of moment that just is like, it impacts you. I mean, it sounded like you went into, after a while, a bit of a processing period after that.
Totally.
How did you create that space for yourself to kind of come back, to heal, to figure it out? Because I'm curious in, like, what did you create any, like, rituals, or who did you connect with or not connect with, or I'm curious about that time of your life.
I really was kind of MIA. I really couldn't. Every time I reached out, I felt like, oh, how do I reach out? Or how can I, who should I, did I not? It was just like, at that time, I really let it go with my mental health too, because I was so triggered by everything. I was just overstimulated. So, like, I really took some time to myself to really find some grounding, get my balls up to my chest, show everybody I got balls.
What?
It's a lot. It's a lot to really put yourself out there. I mean, when you're starting a company, you're really putting yourself out there in a super vulnerable way.
Absolutely.
You know, you're putting your name out there, your product out there, what you make, and it's a vulnerable moment, and you have to be at the same time really strong and quick and clever and remember everyone's name and and not be triggered or traumatized at this moment. It's a lot to carry, and when those things happen, I feel like it can really it sounds like it really took the wind out you, but you were able to come back.
Absolutely. I mean, just like you, it makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
In the end of like, it's on the table. Now, what are we going to do about it?
And it takes time, I think, and that's okay. I think it's okay as anybody to take whatever time you need to steady yourself.
And make sure there's weed.
Big part of it. That's a big part of it. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, Sonia, I can't wait. What do you got for us?
Get excited, folks. Let's see. Did I bring my cards?
Go for it.
All right. So, my journey to like self-actualization to this point in my career, in terms of how pride and equity play a role in what I'm trying to do, really starts when I was I was 17, and I was experiencing my first real bout of depression. And I remember just being in a place where I felt unhappy, and at the same time I was looking outside of my experience and seeing I knew that I had some privilege and that there was just so much suffering in the world, and that like hopeless feeling that you have when you don't feel like you can change that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking myself some sort of really existential questions at that point in my life about like, what am I doing here, And I came to this conclusion that I was just going to spend all of my energy and like try and make my career into like trying to make a net impact on the global inequality that I was seeing, and try and make that impact as big as I possibly could. And being like I think it's left brain, right brain person, whatever it is. And like I'm a Virgo rising. I'm a really logical person, and I took this mission into from a very logical perspective, and I ended up going to school for economics because I really wanted to learn about how the economic systems that we live in work and like how I could recode them. And like I just saw myself as like diverting huge flows of capital into different directions and just like really trying to change the landscape. And I studied a little bit in East Africa as well. As just I was really fascinated with like colonialism and the IMF and what it's done. And coming out of college, I started doing the nonprofit route, and I was trying to find like a strategy for hacking the system through the nonprofit route, and realized, I would really have to get like a master's degree to make any impact. And I was already in all of this debt. And I felt also at that time that I was just competing against other people for jobs that they felt as passionate as I did about. And I felt like I was still sort of just a cog in like a big wheel of capitalism in a way. Mm-hmm. So I started at that point learning about social enterprise and like what's possible through just business ownership that's more responsible and uses different, more responsible supply chains, and really like taking everything into the picture, right, and reworking it. So I started out doing this enterprise where I was working with women in East Africa to create custom fit garments, and I got really deep into that, and I had this really big ambitious goal, and I met Melody in 2016, and I had spent all of this time really like throwing myself into spaces that I didn't feel like I belonged in, and like pitching at these competitions and being like just like really like trying to learn hard and fast. and she told me about these Thai sticks and how she wanted to make a business out of them. And I was like, great, I'll help you with this. I've learned, I've been learning how to start a business. And so we tried for a couple of years to break into the THC market, like she was telling you, but it's really tough. It's a really tough market to break into as non-traditional founders with no capital. And that was totally what we were doing. And we were trying to find like partnerships to get our way in. And then boom, hemp became legal. And that's actually been a huge opportunity for us. It's a bigger market that we're more immediately able to access. And we're like, okay, the license costs what? Okay. So we pivoted and it's been awesome. But at the beginning, we were still just at these low paying jobs and trying to start this without capital. And we're like in and out of the back of somebody's retail space for production. And we really didn't have like a consistent spot. And then miraculously one day, Melody ran into Valerie Sakota, Meryl's business partner at Barbari. And it was like the planets aligned. They were looking for somebody to share space with them, and it's been ever since that moment just like a huge boon to our success. They are awesome allies. Snaps for Meryl and Valerie. And I realized along this journey that like aligning with people who can see me and see my vision and have a similar vision is really the key to like creating businesses that are more representative of everybody's needs, right? And I'm learning a lot about like how much more is possible just through inclusion, because it's not about just like being a female founder that's siloed and trying to do whatever. It's about like all of us being included, being brought to different tables at the same time and being able to meet, right? So it's like I'm learning about how we can kind of create our own like power sharing circle, kind of like white men have been doing for hundreds of years, and just like instead of looking at how systems of capital or systems of money move, but like looking at the power structure and there's that power and it's in representation. And so that's my thing. That's my my main goal now in life is really just to like bring more people to different tables. We have an alarm.
Well, setting alarms for timing.
Oh, so
That's right, Sam. It is true though. I mean,
I didn't even realize. That was perfect. That was my story.
Perfect. I mean, it was it brought actual alarms to it. So I think it's like so beautiful too how again like it's coming from a moment again of anyone who has had any sort of mental health, literally any moments, right, can understand those times when you're feeling truly alone and lonely and confused and scared and like what the fuck, like what, like why am I even here? What is the like? Am I just like a big heap of flesh here to just move this heap of flesh from one spot to another spot? Like that can't be that can't be it. There has to be some momentum and some energy to it. Yeah. And I think it's all of these relationships, the ones that we've built at the studio, running our companies, the places, the connections of the tokeativity community is all just building to the energy momentum. And that's what is causing, these cracks. Like it is all energy, and it all, I think from ourselves, starts in a place of loneliness. Like we've all been lonely with these places of just isolation, and coming together is actually that momentum and that energy that we need to move on and grow.
Meryl, I think the only appropriate response to this moment is for me to light this joint right now.
Yes, I think so. Let me actually join you.
Fucking moment.
Meryl, you're too cool. You're too cool. Oh.
Sparks to that, and sparks to all of you. I hope other people join that collective smoke sesh moment.
Yeah.
We're so honored. Thank you all so much. How are we on time, Samantha? Are we over? I think it is time. Well, thank you, Tokeativity, and to all the sponsors and the so many hardworking women that put this event together. You are the real stars of today. But one last time, happy anniversary. Happy anniversary, you two. I hope you enjoy your lovely night and drinks and celebrate. And I love you both.
Thanks for joining us on this. This has been such a fun conversation. And
yeah, thank you.
All right, happy Pride, everyone.
Love you. Happy Pride.